the Jazz and Heritage Festival was having a great deal of financial difficulty. I grew up with the festival in the 70s, was actually a board member of the Jazz and Heritage Foundation, as it was called then. And oddly enough, I think most of you who understand nonprofit management, you know you need fresh blood on boards and changes and things. And all of a sudden, when I took this new job, I realized that many of the people that I had served with on the board in the 70s were still there, and that the organization did not have term limits, and that was one of the many problems that it was dealing with and is still dealing with. You can only make change in small steps. But after September 11th, the festival itself really didn't understand the complexities of producing an event and dealing with the change and shift in its audiences. September 11th immediately shut down really airline transportation. So people who had traditionally come to the festival from all around the world and all around the country all of a sudden didn't come that year. And once you lose that type of audience and they decide that they're going somewhere else for another festival or another type of vacation, it's very difficult to regain that kind of audience. And so for 3 years, the 2001 festival was very, very successful. It was, I think, the first time we had Dave Matthews. So we had, I think, over 100,000 people at the fairgrounds, which was way too many, and that actually turned off a lot of people towards the festival. The following year, after September 11th, there was a decline of maybe about 70,000 people in attendance. The next year was another 70,000 people, and the next year was approximately another 70,000, with the 2004 festival having quite a few rain dates. Luckily, we had rain insurance, but there were a combination of elements that really contributed to this serious decline in attendance and financial stability of the festival. It was my feeling that, number one, the programming itself creatively was suffering. Music that I enjoy, I believe most of the people here would enjoy, was really not being programmed into the festival. It was sort of the same old for many years. And one of the first questions I asked the festival principals was, I'd like to see a marketing plan, knowing that we had lost, 210,000 people over 3 years, and not much to my amazement, there has never been a marketing plan for the Jazz and Heritage Festival. At the same time, when I was brought in, there was quite a lot of conflict with the foundation. Now, I am the executive director of the nonprofit organization, which is now titled the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival Foundation. We own the festival. We also own the broadcast license for WWOZ Radio. And I walked into quite a hotbed of problems. I mean, number one, walking in my first day and having a desk with $500,000 worth of checks to be signed and no money in the bank. And at the same time, the tension had grown considerably between the nonprofit organization, the foundation, and the producers, Festival Productions Incorporated, with the local producer of Quint Davis, who is one of the people who was responsible for starting the festival, and also George Wein, who is sort of a legend in jazz. But there was a great deal of animosity, suspicion, finger-pointing, to the point where the executive committee of the board said, hey, we're not renewing this contract. We're going to send out a request for proposals, and we're calling everybody in the country except Festival Productions. And my response was, well, we need to at least give Festival Productions another chance. We went through a fairly well-publicized media event of, the idea of a foundation dumping the producers who were pretty much responsible for the birthing of this festival, and talking to people like Clear Channel and AEG Live and some of the bigger producers around the country. And while many of them brought some very attractive proposals to the table, and many of them had some very imaginative ideas, it was my feeling that knowing how New Orleans works. It's really difficult to bring somebody in from the outside to deal with all kinds of issues, whether it's police patrol issues at the festival or getting permits for food, dealing with the infrastructure of a city that was broken down before Katrina. And I was pleased that the board went along with the decision to keep festival productions, but we'd also put in a clause that since we were no longer able to provide the $2 million upfront money, that the producers had to basically front the money. And that was a hard thing for festival productions. They brought in then the second place finishers, AEG Live, which is out of California and Denver. They're a big entertainment conglomerate. They produce the movie Ray. They own Celine Dion in Las Vegas, the Millennium Dome, the Kodak this, the Staple thing. So, you know, they have the money. And last year, I think was, you know, one of the more interesting years that we had. I was pleased to sort of be able to get at the table and start asking for some fresh talent, whether it was the Wilcos or the Los Lonely Boys or some of the things that I felt that were more reflective of what was going on in contemporary music. And I felt very good about last year's entertainment lineup. We were also blessed with probably the best weather the festival's ever had. It's kind of ironic we would have the best weather followed by the worst weather we've ever had. But it felt like San Diego at the Jazz Fest instead of, you know, sweating to death out there. So we had good attendance, good profits. We were able to walk away with over $2 million in profits, which is then split between the foundation and the producers, and we were able to pay our bills and move forward. I was very enthusiastic about looking forward to this year and continuing on in evolving the music lineup and becoming more involved in the community. And of course, Katrina hit. The question then was, do we have a fairgrounds to do it? Do we have a city to do it? Do we have the money to do it? Will there be an audience to do it? Will there be airlines to fly people in? Will there be hotels? And the initial reaction to by most people was, we can't do it. I threatened that I would get out on the Acura stage myself and yodel if necessary, but we were going to do a damn festival. So the festival went on over the last couple months. It's shrunk considerably. Originally it was sort of 4 months ago, it was about half the size, and we had the producers were eliminating certain tents. We had eliminated the blues tent, we'd eliminate the jazz tent, we'd eliminate the gospel tent, and then slowly we realized that it was impossible to cut back and do quite the cutbacks that, you know, were being discussed. And so slowly things became, they reappeared. Now, one of the ironic things about this year's festival is that we do depend heavily on sponsorship. And for the last couple of years, we've been at a brick wall of basically $1.2 million in sponsorship. The largest chunk of that coming from Honda, the Acura stage. We've had support from Popeyes and different Sprint. Nothing major. And all of a sudden, with this year, we are now over $4 million in sponsorship. And it's been pretty phenomenal. I think a lot of people in New Orleans are realizing that the outside world cares about New Orleans. They want to show support. And we've been put in a very unique situation of actually having to decide between different corporations who wanted visibility. So for this year, Shell Oil, which wanted to sort of celebrate their return to New Orleans, has done a lot for this city financially. It's pretty amazing because before Katrina, most organizations were lucky to get a $15,000 grant from Shell. We're talking much larger numbers for sponsorship and the other things that they've done. American Express is on with us. Tenet Healthcare, which used to support the Hornets, I believe is moving their money back to the arts, which is good. And we have various other sponsors. So the sponsorship picture in New Orleans has changed radically. The big question that we'll be dealing with is, will these sponsors stay with us? So Sponsorship management is a huge issue with events like this. You have to make sure that the executives are happy, all the staff people that are coming in get the right passes, that they're treated well, and they want to come back. So that's one of the areas that we're focusing a lot of attention on. We've never had quite this type of sponsorship and the demands on the staff. Now our staff, like everything in New Orleans, has shrunk. And I think if you talk to any arts organization in the city, you're talking about smaller staff and more work. The one good thing that is for students and internships is that, before when you were doing an internship at a major organization, you were given some important tasks, but a lot of menial tasks. Right now you can walk into any organization and become their development director, and stuff. So I think there's some real opportunities here.